Giants. No matter where you live on the planet, you have some image of them in mind. Legendary creatures, impressively massive, extraordinarily strong. They come to humans, sometimes as friendly allies, other times as ruthless monsters. Whether you know them from folktales, from childhood cartoons, or from scripture, these mythical figures all have something in common. They are unmistakably human. The image of oversized humans endowed with legendary strength lives in one form or another across cultures and traditions. Could this motif be the surviving echo of a species-wide memory? In other words, could giants have lived elsewhere before human stories? The Hebrew Bible is one of those texts that abounds in references to giants. From the great and tall sons of the Anakim, whom no one can stand before, to their ancestors, the Nephilim, the sons of God, the mighty men that were of old, to the ancient peoples of Emim and Zamzummim, both great and numerous, and as tall as the Anakim. Among all the giants mentioned in the Bible, one stands above the rest: the famous Goliath. A legendary and fearsome warrior, champion of the Philistines. He terrified Israel for 40 days before being killed by David with a stone to the forehead. A victory so epic that it transformed an unknown shepherd into the future king of Israel. But what lies behind these stories of biblical giants? Scholars disagree. For some, the text is to be read literally. An ancient race of extraordinarily large humans did exist and later vanished. For others, biblical giants belong to an older mythological tradition shared across the ancient Near East. Think Gilgamesh in Mesopotamia. Others see them as theological symbols, serving to illustrate how God's people overcome seemingly overwhelming odds. And finally, some scholars view them as a memory of real ancient populations living in Canaan, whose physical distinctiveness was later mythologized through oral tradition. So which is it? Reality? Myth? Symbol? Cultural memory? The answer is all of them. Because there is a way to reconcile these seemingly incompatible interpretations. The Bible is referring to prehistory. Giants in the Bible go by many different names, but their stories follow the same pattern. In the Deuteronomic texts, they are all indigenous to the land. They have genealogies. They are great and mighty warriors. They perish, and they are all replaced by other people in their own land. This resembles ethnography more than mythology, a very specific ethnography, that of Neanderthals in the Levant. Thanks to paleoanthropological research, we know today that by the time Homo sapiens reached the Levant on their way out of Africa, Neanderthals were already there, and they had been there for countless generations. We also know that after Homo sapiens entered the Levant, Neanderthals gradually vanished from the region. Their populations withdrew toward Europe and were progressively replaced by Homo sapiens, eventually leading to their extinction. Indigenous populations of Canaan, occupying the land for generations, later replaced by newcomers. The parallel is difficult to ignore. Now the tricky question: why would Neanderthals be remembered as giants? When it comes to height, Neanderthals were no giants. In fact, they were consistently shorter than Homo sapiens by about 5 to 10 centimeters on average. At first glance, this appears to be a fatal problem for our theory. But what if being a giant was less about height and more about build? Though slightly shorter than Homo sapiens, Neanderthals were significantly stockier, more robust, and extremely muscular. If one of our ancestors stood next to a Neanderthal, the contrast would have been striking. Broader shoulders with a greater range of motion, a wider barrel-shaped chest, wider hips and a broader pelvis, thicker, stronger bones and larger joints, bigger forearms, larger, more robust hands, capable of a grip up to 50% stronger than that of Homo sapiens, more muscle mass packed into a shorter frame. Neanderthals evolved under the harsh conditions of Ice Age Eurasia. For millennia, they endured extreme cold, carried heavy loads, and confronted large prey, including mammoths. Their bodies were built for power, cold resistance, and explosive strength. Our ancestors, on the other hand, evolved as hunter-gatherers in Africa. Their survival depended on tracking prey over long distances and under high temperatures. Evolution favored endurance, adaptability, and heat dissipation over brute strength, resulting in the gracile and slender bodies we have today. Two humanities, two evolutionary paths, one built for power, the other for endurance. Think heavyweight wrestlers versus marathon runners. This means something very simple. In one-on-one, close-range combat, a Homo sapiens individual would not stand a chance against a Neanderthal. And it must have felt terrifying for our ancestors. No wonder we would remember them as impressively powerful warriors. As mighty men that were of old. As fallen giants. Being a giant is one thing. Being perceived as a giant is another. It all depends on the gaze of whoever stands before you. Through the eyes of Homo sapiens, Neanderthals were giants. And it had nothing to do with height, and everything to do with how small, helplessly vulnerable, and easily overpowered our ancestors must have felt upon encountering them. A radically different body, seen through the lens of both awe and terror. One verse in the Bible perfectly captures the psychological shock of encountering this physically superior humanity. Before entering the land of Canaan, Moses sent 12 spies to scout the land and bring news of its inhabitants. Upon returning, the spies' verdict about the indigenous population was unequivocal. There we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anakim, who come from the giants. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers. And so we were in their sight. Numbers 13:33. Giants and grasshoppers. A powerful image of fear, intimidation, and perceived inferiority. We projected our insecurities onto them and later mythologized them as giants. Let's end on one last biblical image of Neanderthals: a spear. As we've seen, Neanderthal anatomy was optimized for power, not only for enduring high mechanical loads, but also for effective spear use. Their specialized shoulder structure and powerful arm mechanics made them naturally skilled spear hunters, capable of delivering remarkable force and accuracy long before Homo sapiens developed specialized projectile technologies such as the spear thrower. Remember Goliath? The giant that no Israelite dared face in single combat for 40 days until David brought him down. His weapon of choice was a massive spear. His spear shaft was like a weaver's beam, and the iron point of his spear weighed 7 kilograms. Goliath is an archetypal image of a Neanderthal warrior. Spear in hand, intimidating, fear-inspiring, invincible, if not for divine intervention. The story ends with the weak empowered by the Lord to triumph over the strong, and with one people replacing another in the land promised by God. A lesson of unwavering faith? Or a story our ancestors kept repeating to help them sleep at night?